All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this mini webinar provided by mistudentaid. Today's mini webinar is going to focus on programs and resources for students from special populations. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So before we dive into material today, I want to make sure that all of you are aware that Sketch Credit is available for today's training. I know the question that we get asked a lot is this sketch credit for career or for college? This is college sketch credit. So what I have up on your screen right now is what you all will need to do to request sketch credit. So we want to make sure that you're going to email sketch at micollegeaccess.org, and you're going to include your name, the name of today's webinar, which is on the screen, but again is programs and resources for students from special populations. And then also be sure to include your PIC number. So again, for those of you joining us today that wish to receive sketch credit, we want to make sure that you get credit for today's webinar. So just make sure that you email sketch at micollegeaccess.org. And I will also share, because I know this has come up in some of the past webinars that we've done, I have shared this information with our partners at MCAN. So they have all of our attendee reports from all of our previous webinars. So not today's, of course, not yet, but they do have information and attendee reports from all of our previous webinars. So if you're waiting to hear about sketch credit, or if you have other questions about sketch credit, please make sure that you email sketch at micollegeaccess.org. I also want to mention too today that I have some of my colleagues behind the scenes. They're going to be monitoring the Q&A feature today. So if you have questions along the way while we're talking through some of these programs and resources, please make sure you drop any question in that Q&A feature within Zoom, and my teammates will be looking behind the scenes to answer any of those questions. So we're going to kick things off just talking about some of our state financial aid programs that are specifically for students from special populations or students who have had a very particular experience. So what you'll notice up on the screen, we have a listing of some of those state financial aid programs, and I've put stars next to some of those programs today that we're going to cover and we're going to talk a little bit more about. So you'll notice we're going to talk about the Children of Veterans Tuition Grant, Fostering Futures, the Police Officers and Firefighters Survivor Tuition Grant, Michigan Reconnect, and I'm going to touch on TIP, and I'm also going to touch on the Michigan Tuition Grant a little bit as well. Now, the QR code that's up on your screen, this is a really helpful QR code. It's going to take you directly to our website where we have a listing of all of these different programs, and we also have fact sheets for each, and I would say definitely take a look at those, just diving in a little bit deeper to the program, and it's going to elaborate more on additional eligibility requirements, things like that. So definitely follow that QR code, take a look at our website where we have more information about all of the programs that I'm going to talk about today. I also just wanted you to see a listing of the eligibility requirements that are for most of our state of Michigan programs. So you'll notice Michigan residency, U.S. citizenship, permanent residency or approved refugee status, completion of the FAFSA for many of our programs, and then also that these programs do have to be used at our in-state institutions, our Michigan approved college colleges and universities. And for most of our programs, students need to be enrolled at least half time. So again, the QR code on your screen, it's just going to take you directly to that listing of programs on our website. And again, take a look at the fact sheets, take a look at the full program details, so you can find out additional information about some of the state programs that I'm going to talk through today. All right, so we're going to kick things off with CVTG, or our Children of Veterans Tuition Grant. So this provides tuition assistance to the children of qualified Michigan veterans who are deceased, totally and permanently disabled due to a service-related injury or illness, or missing in action. So if you're working with any students that might have experienced this within their family, you definitely want to let them know about CVTG. There is a one-time initial application for CVTG, and there are some additional documentation pieces that will be required for the student to receive CVTG. Definitely check out our website for, again, just more detailed listing of what that documentation would entail and some of those examples of appropriate documentation. Also, we're going to have for CVTG up to $2,800. It could be awarded annually towards tuition and fees. And this is a renewable scholarship, so it's renewable for up to 4 academic years, and it does have a lifetime maximum of $11,200. Now, an important thing to note, stepchildren and grandchildren of the veteran are not eligible. So that is a question that we get asked a lot, and unfortunately, that's not the case for CVTG. So we're looking to provide that tuition assistance to the children of Michigan veterans, again, who fall into some of those categories that are listed above. And again, additional eligibility requirements, fact sheets on CVTG are all available online at our website, which I have listed at the bottom of the screen for you. So some additional pieces about CVTG. So you mentioned, or you recall that I mentioned that there is a requirement that the student complete an initial one-time application for CVTG, and there are 2 ways that the student can complete that application. So the first way is online by creating a MySSG student portal account, and you'll see on the screen they can create that at michigan.gov/MISSG. And that's also right on our website as well. And I would say, just a couple key things for students on creating that MySSG student portal account. The student will need their social security number. So that's a big thing. Make sure you're sharing that with the student, that they're going to need to know their social security number in order to create that MySSG student portal account. And I will say, I'm going to share a little bit later some of the additional benefits to creating a MySSG student portal account. Of course, the big one is the fact that students can complete some of these state financial aid applications. And if for any reason, if the student is unable to create or submit their CVTG application via the MySSG student portal account, they can also complete it over the phone by contacting our customer care center at the number on your screen. That's 1-888-447-2687. And you'll notice applicants must complete the FAFSA in order to be considered and be awarded CVTG funds. All right, now we're going to move into the Police Officers and Firefighters Survivor Tuition Grant, or STG for short. Now, this particular program provides a waiver of tuition at Michigan community colleges or public universities for children and surviving spouses of Michigan police officers and firefighters killed in the line of duty. Now, again, there is an application for this particular program. And again, the documentation, there may be additional documentation that's required. There's going to be some initial documentation, and you can check out our website for additional details. For STG, that initial documentation is going to be things like a birth certificate. It also is going to be things like a death certificate. So just giving you all a heads up about some of that initial documentation that may be requested in order for a student to be considered for STG. Now, also, eligible students will receive a tuition-only waiver at participating Michigan institutions. And again, this is at our Michigan participating community colleges and our four-year public universities. So no private institutions are participating with STG. Now, this award amount is going to vary based on tuition needs, so just keep that in mind. This is also a scholarship that is renewable. So eligibility is going to end when either the student receives their bachelor's degree or has completed 9 semesters. So whichever comes first for STG. And I just want you to know again, additional eligibility requirements, fact sheets on STG, all available online at michigan.gov/mistudentaid. So just going and continuing on STG and the application process. So again, any students that are interested in the police officers and firefighters survivor tuition grant, they're going to have to complete that initial application. So that's a one-time only application, and there are 2 ways to complete that application. So just like with CVTG, they're going to want to go online and create that MySSG student portal account, make sure they have their social security number, and they'll be able to complete that STG application right through their MySSG student portal account. And again, if for any reason that student's unable to complete the STG application electronically via the portal, they can also contact our customer care center over the phone, and they can complete that application with one of our customer care center reps. And again, we've got that phone number right there on your screen. And a requirement of STG, like most of our state financial aid programs, is that student completes the FAFSA. All right, so now I'm going to move into the Fostering Futures Scholarship. So this particular scholarship is for students who've experienced time in foster care here in Michigan and experienced time in foster care at the age of 13 or older. Now, I want to note that a couple key things about Fostering Futures. So one, they need to have entered foster care here in the state of Michigan at 13 due to abuse or neglect. Now, that's a really important piece of this particular program because sometimes students enter foster care as what we would call JJ or juvenile justice wards. So they entered care due to some other reason than abuse and neglect. So they might have entered care due to involvement with police or other law enforcement. So it's really important that student entered care due to abuse or neglect at the age of 13 or older. Another important thing that I want to mention about Fostering Futures is that having that 13 or older age, this is regardless of how their case resolved. So what I mean by that is if the student had an open foster care case at 13 in a day and then was reunified with their biological family, or maybe they were adopted and that was how their case resolved through the foster care system, as long as they had that open foster care case at 13 or older, they're eligible for fostering futures. So I would just say, some of you may already know some students, that are at your school that have experienced time in foster care, or maybe currently they're in foster care. They might have shared with you that they're living with a family member. Maybe they're living with an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent. This might just be an opportunity to ask a follow-up question. Have they ever experienced time in foster care? And usually when I'm asking students about this, I kind of preface it with, I'm not asking to be all in your business. I'm asking because there may be additional resources and additional benefits out there to help you pay for college. So definitely, if you think that there may be students at your school that have had this experience, or if you know of students that might be currently experiencing foster care, please let them know about the Fostering Futures Scholarship. So a couple key things about the Fostering Futures Scholarship. So there is an annual application for Fostering Futures. So it's required each year that student is enrolled at that college or university. That annual application opens each year in March. So for your seniors, your class of 2024 seniors, that again have had this experience in foster care and are thinking of applying for the Fostering Futures Scholarship, keep in mind that application is going to open in March of 2024. So definitely give them information, let them know about the Fostering Futures Scholarship, and of course, give them a heads up that application is going to open in March. Now, there's no maximum age restriction for the Fostering Futures Scholarship. This is something that makes Fostering Futures really unique, that there is no maximum age restriction. And we have had students that have contacted us that are in their 30s, that are thinking about going back to school, that are eligible for Fostering Futures. Another unique thing about the Fostering Futures Scholarship is that these awards can go not just towards tuition and mandatory fees, but they can also go towards books and supplies and room and board. So we know that for students that have had this experience in foster care, many of them, having safe and secure housing is a high priority on their list when they're considering what that post-secondary plan might be. So the fact that Fostering Futures can go towards things like room and board is just really helpful for these students. So Fostering Futures can award up to $3,000 per academic year. So that is if that student's going full-time, they're going to receive that $3,000. If they're going part-time, they're going to receive half that. So they're going to receive $1,500. Now, you heard me mention earlier about that application, the annual application each year. So for your class of 2024 students, it's opening in March. But the priority deadline for those students is going to be August 1st. So real important for students, that are completing that application again, even our students that are already in college that are completing the application for next academic year, the priority deadline is August 1st. So what that means is we hope that the majority of our Fostering Futures students are going to get that application in by August 1st so that we can award all of those students if a student does miss that August 1st priority deadline for the application, they can still submit their application. Just each student situation is going to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and it's all going to be subject to available funding. So if we have the money and we're able to award that student, we're going to go ahead and award them, even if it is past that August 1st deadline. But we just really want to encourage students to get it in by August 1st. That way, they're not at risk of possibly, not having funds available to them for that academic year. So a couple things about the Fostering Futures application, very similar to the previous programs we talked about. So that application is required and it's got to be completed each year. So during that kind of open enrollment period where that application opens in March each year, the 2024-2025 Fostering Futures application priority deadline again is August 1st of 2024. And there are two ways to complete the application. So the first is by going online, completing that MySSG student portal account. And again, students need their SOCH in order to do that. Or if, again, they're unable to complete it via the portal, they can also contact our customer care center and we can help them complete that application over the phone. And again, for Fostering Futures, just like our other programs we covered today, the FAFSA is required. All right. Well, now I want to take a minute to just kind of talk about some additional resources that exist and that are out there right here in our state to help students specifically from this special population. So I will just say, I'm going to try not to talk about this for a super long time, but this is just a population that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I started out my career with the state of Michigan as a foster care caseworker. So I know that these students are up against a lot of barriers just in completion of high school and then matriculation to college. So to whatever that post-secondary plan is. So I wanted to make sure that you all knew about a very important resource, and that's our friends at Fostering Success Michigan. So I don't know if any of you joining us today have heard of FSM, but FSM is basically like building that supportive educational pipeline for youth who've experienced time in foster care here in Michigan. So they're really helping to gather resources, build connections, increase awareness, and really just help students as they, are making their way through high school and then again to enrollment and matriculation to college, and working with different colleges and universities to provide that type of wraparound support that these students really need. So you can see this is just taken from some of the Fostering Success Michigan information that is available on their website. So I would say definitely take a look. There's a lot of helpful resources there, but you can see that we know in Michigan, approximately 40% of foster youth graduate high school compared to 80% of their general population peers. So we know that these youth aren't graduating at the same rates as their peers. And we know that a lot of that could be due to frequent moves. There's also a lot of school changes when students are in foster care and just trauma and lack of educational stability that comes from many of those moves and many of those school changes. So a lot of these can create those barriers, can create those challenges. And sometimes for these students, they don't really see that college is a possibility. And they don't really see a way to pay for college and maybe get the support that they need at these campuses. but Fostering Success Michigan is doing a lot of work. So FSM was developed in 2012, again, to just increase access and success for these students in education. And one of the things that they've done is within that FSM network, there are about 30 campus-based support programs and what they call campus-based champions across the state. And they're providing support to students via tuition assistance, coaching, mentoring at some programs, community events. So it really looks different across the programs, but I thought it was really important to let you know that there are colleges and universities here in the state of Michigan that are offering this tailored support to students who have had this experience in foster care. And I just want to put up on your screen, these are some of those campus-based support programs here in the state of Michigan. So when I talk with students that may share with me that they've experienced time in foster care, and we're kind of talking through resources, one of the big things that I'm sharing with them is I'm talking to them about Fostering Success Michigan. If they've mentioned to me, like for instance, maybe they say, well, I'm looking at going to Washtenaw Community College. If I know that they've also had this experience in foster care, I'm talking to them about the Washtenaw Community College REACH program. So that's the program right there on WCC's campus that can assist these students and help them to be successful in that transition to college and throughout their time at that particular college or university. So I just wanted you all to be aware again of these campus-based support programs and of the work that Fostering Success Michigan is doing to really, again, pool all of those resources and have a place for you all to go and for students to go to find additional resources to help pay for college.
Hey,
One
Emily.
of the big things on their website, just so you all know, is they have created different toolkits. One of the toolkits, as you can see up on your screen, is this child welfare toolkit for educators. So just something to help you all understand a little bit more about what might be those unique needs of this particular population and what might be some of the challenges that these students may be encountering both in high school and again in that transition to college. I will say too, check out the Fostering Success Michigan Library for not just toolkits, but also guides. So they have a higher education guide that's a really nice booklet for students to look through that again kind of identifies each of those campus-based support programs and talks about what the requirements are for that particular program, contact information, and just additional information to kind of get those students started, along with a financial aid resource guide that's for students who have had this experience in foster care. A common myth that kind of floats around for many students in this population is that their college is fully paid for. And I just want to say right now, that is false. These students who have had experience in foster care do not have their college automatically fully paid for. That is a big false myth and narrative. And I just want to make sure that students know that and that folks who are working with them know that as well. There are resources out there to support them and help them pay for college, but it's really up to these students to again do the research, pool these resources to help them pay for college. So I would just really encourage you, check out the Fostering Success Michigan website. And more than anything, just know that you don't have to do this work alone, that many of us within this education, field are connected to one another. So if you reach out to me and you're wanting to know about resources for students from foster care, I will certainly connect you with my friends at Fostering Success Michigan and connect you, with additional resources to help you as you're working with those students. All right. So hopefully we're doing good, talking through Fostering Future Scholarship. Now I wanted to just make sure that I touched on our Michigan Reconnect. So again, for students from these special populations, Michigan Reconnect is a scholarship program that pays for students 25 and older to attend their in-district community college, and it does offer a large discount if students attend an out-of-district community college. So if you are working with students, maybe you have some adult learners that you might be working with in a program, just know that we do have Michigan Reconnect available. Students can use that scholarship to complete an associate degree or a skills certificate program. And I also wanted to let you know that there is now Michigan Reconnect for those that are 21 to 24. So it is kind of limited time only, but if you're working with any students that are in that age range, between 21 and 24, that again are looking to complete that first associate degree, or they maybe have a skills certificate program they're interested in, definitely let them know about Reconnect 21, and make sure that they know to get that application in by November 15th of 2024. And then just know that Reconnect is operated through the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. In other words, LEO for short. So specific program criteria can be found at michigan.gov /reconnect. So if you want to find out more information about Michigan Reconnect, definitely check out the website where you'll find the application for Michigan Reconnect and more. All right. Now I threw Michigan tuition grant in here. I know some of you are probably like, well, this isn't necessarily for students from a special population, but I didn't want to leave MTG out of the mix. They were kind of the one program that we weren't touching on. So I wanted to give you a couple quick pieces of info on MTG. So the Michigan Tuition Grant provides need-based renewable grants for undergraduate students that are attending eligible private or independent degree granting nonprofit institutions. So on our website, again, where there's that listing of all of our programs, if you scroll down to MTG, definitely check out the fact sheets there, because that's going to give you some more detailed information about MTG. And it's also going to give you a listing of all of those colleges that accept MTG. So that'll be really helpful as you're working with those students that might be looking at some of our private colleges and universities here in the state. Now, there is no special application for MTG, just the FAFSA. And the student does have to complete the FAFSA by the May 1st FAFSA deadline. So we're really excited that that May 1st deadline has remained. You may recall in the past, it was March 1st. So giving students a little bit more time to get that FAFSA in and take advantage of MTG. Now, again, FAFSA, of course, required for this scholarship, and the student must demonstrate financial need in order to be eligible for MTG. Awards do pay up to a maximum of $3,000 per academic year, and they are restricted to tuition and mandatory fees. And this is a renewable scholarship. So assuming that student does their FAFSA by May 1st each year, and the student continues to demonstrate financial need, then they can continue to receive MTG. And additional eligibility requirements, fact sheets, again, are available on our website. All right. Now I did just want to end the program piece by just touching on tip. So for any of you that might have joined us for our last mini webinar, that was solely focused on tips. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it today, but I do want to make sure that anyone who's joining us today who maybe couldn't join us for our last mini webinar knew a little bit about TIP. So the QR code up on your screen, that's going to take you directly to the TIP page that's right on our website. And that's going to, again, explain more about TIP. But I want you to know that this is a program for eligible students who have or who previously had Michigan Medicaid coverage for at least 24 months in a 36-month window. So in other words, for at least 2 years within a 3-year window. And we start tracking as early as age 9. So we're looking starting at age 9 all the way to high school graduation in order to see if that student at any point during that span was receiving Michigan Medicaid for at least 2 years in a 3-year window. Now, a couple key things about TIP. So TIP was really, developed to encourage students to complete high school by providing college tuition assistance after graduation towards either a certificate or an associate degree. Those are students who are maybe going to some of our phase 1 TIP schools, or towards a bachelor's degree. So students who might be going to some of our phase 2 institutions. Now, there is no special application for TIP, just the FAFSA, and the award amount is going to vary. So depending on what type of school they're attending and depending on if they're at a phase 1 or a phase 2 institution. And any of you, again, who maybe weren't at our last mini webinar who are wondering what are the different phases that this woman's talking about, definitely check out the website where we've got those fact sheets that will go and dive in deeper to the different phases. Also, our tip flyer is very helpful for students and families. So if you're able, definitely check out our publications where you can print out some of those flyers and you can hand those out to students at your school that are eligible for TIP. So a couple just quick things. Students do have to complete high school or its recognized equivalent prior to turning 20. If students are attending a state-approved early or middle college, they have to complete high school prior to turning 21. So we're giving them an extra year. And then a unique thing about TIP is that students who are TIP eligible, they have 4 years from the time they graduate from high school to start using their TIP money. So if you're working with students who maybe aren't quite sure what that path looks like after high school or what they might want to study after high school, just letting them know that they've got that 4 years to kind of get that plan in place and figure out how they want to move forward with utilizing their TIP funds. Now, you'll notice what I put at the bottom of your screen is what I touched on already, but that is that our last mini webinar was a TIP overview. So we went in depth on the tuition incentive program. We also talked about best practices for scheduling one of our TIP Talk events at your school. So I would say anyone joining us today that wants to know more about TIP, check out the recording that is available on our website. So if you go to the high school counselor tab and then scroll down to our high school counselor mini webinar trainings, you can access all of our past trainings and recordings for each are available. So definitely, if you want to dive in deeper to TIP, you want to know more about TIP, check out that mini webinar recording that provided that TIP overview. All right. And there are 2 ways that students can check their eligibility. So one is by calling our customer care center. All they need is to provide their first name, last name, and date of birth. So in order for them to call customer care and for us to look them up, we need date of birth and their first and last name. And then if they'd rather create a MySSG student portal account, again, they can, as long as they know their social security number. So that's another way that they can find out if they are eligible for TIP, is by creating that student portal account. And the QR code up on your screen, that takes you directly to where students can start that process of creating the MySSG student portal account. And for any of you who are wondering, like, what are some of the benefits? What can students do in the MySSG student portal? Well, the big one is, and what we've touched on today, is their ability to complete applications. So applications for CVTG, for Fostering Futures, for STG, also being able to view their eligibility status, viewing their payment status, emailing us. And then I would say the two big ones are the fact that they can update their contact information within MySSG. We may be operating off of an old address. So maybe that student has since moved. Maybe there's other things, phone numbers, email addresses. We want to make sure we have the most up-to-date information. That way, when we're doing that outreach to students, we're actually getting that information to the correct location. And then the other important thing is that they have the ability to update their college on file. So I just want to mention this: for all state financial aid, we are always looking at the top school, the number one school that they listed on their FAFSA. So remember, students can list up to 10 colleges and universities that they're interested in attending. Just know, for state financial aid, we're only looking at, or all we can see, is that top school. So that's why updating the college on file within the MySSG student portal account just really helps in the process. If that student, had Eastern Michigan listed as their top school, and now they've decided that they're going to go to Washtenaw Community College, which might have been like their third choice, they have the ability, if they have their MySSG student portal account, to simply go in, click a button, and update their college on file. So you can see there are a lot of benefits to creating the MySSG student portal account. All right, so I want to end it with just making sure that I'm touching on some of the resources that are available on our website. So you'll notice we got that high school counselor tab circled in red. If you haven't gotten a chance to explore our website, please check it out. We've done a lot of revamping of the website, trying to make it easier to navigate. And again, for high school counselors, trying to keep a lot of the information that we know is really important to you right there in one spot under that high school counselor tab. And you'll notice too, to the left, we have a students and families tab with a lot of helpful information there too. So we have publications available for digital download and to print right online. So things like that tip flyer, also our Do You Need Money for College flyer that has information on all of the scholarship and grant programs available through the state. You can also request an event with us. You can check out the My Scholarship search tool. This would be a really important one to highlight with your students. They actually have the ability within the My Scholarship search tool to filter by the county in which they reside, and then it's going to pull up any private third-party scholarships that are specific to that particular county or region. And then also know that we're doing a variety of communication via social media, our Gov Delivery Blast. So if you haven't joined our listserv, if you're not receiving our Gov Delivery messages, definitely join our listserv right from our website. And then I did just want to let you all know, in case if for anyone who wasn't aware, we have been doing our virtual financial aid webinars. So for students and families that might be looking for additional resources and just want some additional help on that kind of financial aid process, definitely let them know that they can register for any of our sessions. They're all free of charge and open to the public. And I do just want to note for you, the December 7th financial aid webinar, you'll notice that's our daytime webinar. So we did sprinkle in a few daytime webinars for our high school counselors and for our families that maybe couldn't always join an evening webinar. We wanted to give you a daytime option too for either programming for your students during the school day, or again, for those families that can't make an evening webinar. And the nice thing about all of these webinars is that regardless of if the student or family can attend live on the day of the webinar, as long as they register, we're going to send them a copy of the recording and a copy of our slide deck. So they'll get that regardless. Now I'm just circling things back. I'm going to give a moment. If anyone has any questions, feel free, drop it in the Q&A. I also have up on your screen for anyone who might have joined late. If you want to receive sketch credit for today, please make sure that you email sketch@micollegeaccess.org. Make sure you include your name, the name of today's webinar, which is up on your screen, and then your PIC number. So we want to make sure you get credit. Definitely make sure you're emailing all of this information to sketch@micollegeaccess.org. And I guess just while I'm wrapping up, what I want you all to know is that we know this is a lot of information on a lot of different programs, but what we want more than anything is for you to just know where you can go to find additional information on all of our programs. We want you to know that you can contact us if you have more specific questions about any of the programs that I touched on today. And really, more than anything, we just want to increase awareness. We want to make sure that students and families know about all the programs available through the state, but especially our students that are from some of these special populations. We want to make sure that they're aware of the support that's available. So again, we don't expect you to all of a sudden be experts across all of these programs, but we just want to let you know that these programs exist and that there is support available for students here in the state from some of these special populations. And I just looked in the Q&A, so I'm sending it back for you. I just want to slide back so that you all know where you send for that sketch credit. So yeah, hopefully you found the information provided today helpful. And again, if you have questions about any of the programs or any of the resources that we touched on today, please feel free to reach out to us and check out Fostering Success Michigan. Again, just a lot of helpful information there for educators and for students who have had that experience in foster care. All right. Well, take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and stay warm. It's super cold here.